Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I make these sort of rusty windows. I'll be using a printout from ArtStacks, the new design team that I'm on, and I'll show you how it's done. So here are my stacks. This is one of the windows printed out, and I've got a background that I made with well, I'll show you the first one that I made, and you guys saw me make this background in a previous video. And so what I'm trying to do is make like I'm looking out a window, right? So I made that background there with a Hero Art stamp set, and the other one's just an abstract one I made. And so what I'm trying to do here is decide which windows I want. Because I want to be able to see, a good portion of that background. But the thing is this one's kind of tall, this one's kind of short, but I like it because it's wider, so I will get more of the background colors in there. But you'll see in a minute I changed my mind, because when you start thinking about I'm going to be cutting these out with a knife and those thin little panes in between, I really feel like I'm going to have a good chance at breaking them. And you'll see I start to cut one out and I'm looking at it and I'm going, no, that's going to be too thin in between there. And I'm just using my magic mat because I didn't feel like getting out my big mat. And then, yeah, I learned that one from Betty Penny. I changed my mind and decided to use the taller window. Just because it has wider panes in it to cut out. Now, if you have a die cut, and I know that Tim Holtz has some die cuts that are something like this, by all means, die cut it out. It's going to save you a lot of time. And so I will cut the very first one just to kind of show you how I cut. And I just use my finger knife and just slowly and carefully follow the lines. Doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to be doing stuff to it. But, you do want to be careful because you are using a sharp knife. Well, in my case, it's not as sharp as it was because I do a lot of cutting of chipboard. But I'll cut this first one out, and then I'll cut the rest out off camera so that you guys don't have to sit here and watch me cut. Because it's not all that exciting. It's pretty redundant. And I'm just going to pop that piece out and go off camera and cut the rest. Okay, so I've got all of the inside cut out, and I leave some of the outside kind of thick so that I have something to grab onto while I'm cutting. And I'm just going to cut around the outside edge here. Carefully. I left my big scissors downstairs, so I'm kind of fighting with these little Cricut scissors, but they're fine. It's fine. We're all fine. We're all good. Now I'll go ahead and complete a card for you guys, but the whole point of this video is to show you how to do this. So if you don't want to see the whole card completed, you can watch this and be done with me. But honestly, you could make the window from outside looking in, depending. It just depends on what you have. If you have a cool indoor scene, then you can make it looking out, whatever suits you. So I'm getting out my Versamark, and I'm getting out my little tray, and what I'm using is this Seth Apter Baked Texture in Chunky Rust, and I buy it directly from Emerald Creek. You could probably get it on scrapbook.com. I don't know if you can get that flavor. And then I'm going to also use the patina oxide just a little bit. Let me zoom out a little so you can see the process here. So I'm going to turn on my heat tool and get it warmed up, and grab my Versamark ink here. And what I do is I just do half at a time, so that I have something to hold on to, because it's a big piece. I don't feel like dealing with tweezers. So I'm just going to take a little piece of scrap paper so I can push this down into the ink. And you'll see, after a while, I'm like, forget the scraps. I'll just get my fingers in it, because you guys know me. I get my fingers. I have more trouble opening the thing than using it. And I'm just going to dump some on, and I'm going to dump quite a bit because I need something to dip into. This stuff's really neat, but you don't want to overheat it. If you overheat it, then it gets shiny. We're not trying to go shiny here. So I'll be dipping back into that as this gets hot. So I'm going to go ahead and start to heat it up. And you just have to watch it. You can see when it turns. And then I'm going to dip the hot right back in and do it again. And then I'm going to dip it in again and just really smother that stuff on. And it can be sloppy on there. That's the whole point. Just love this stuff. Okay, so I've got the first half. I'm going to just let that cool for a second here. And then you see how it's kind of got a texture, but it's kind of dull still. It's not too shiny. So now I'm just going to use my fingers this time. Because, yeah, it's just a lot easier. I'm just going to dump the rusty sort of texture on there. And take my heat tool and same process. You see I've got my big pile there that I'm going to be dipping into. Because I want a pretty nice thick coating to kind of help support this paper. It's just 80-pound accent opaque. And I like to use that simply because it's easier to cut. But I mean, you could even use chipboard if you want to, but you'd have to print onto it or glue this down onto it and then print. Or cut it out with your die cut if you have it. Okay, so I've got that part done. Now I'm going to grab myself a piece of scrap paper here. Let me get that out of the way. And where is my scrap? And I'm leaving that there because you'll see why in a minute. Here we go. Just going to lay this down on a piece of scrap paper. And I'm going to take my Versamark and I'm just going to put some random spots on there. One more for good measure. And then I'm going to dump this patina color on. If I can get it open. And it's a pretty dark green. It's beautiful color, beautiful. I'm going to just tap it off and then I'm just going to move this out of the way. And hope I don't knock into it and spill it. It's a little bit different trying to get that stuff back in the bag. So I'm going to go ahead and just heat emboss the stuff I have on there. And once it's good and hot, I'm going to make sure it's hot. I'm going to dip it right back into that rust colored one, so that it sort of, you know, looks more organic and natural. Give it another dip. Because I don't want it to be, you know, like weird stripes or anything. So I'm going to get this hot again. And dip it in. And heat it again. One more time. Yeah, I kind of make a big mess with this stuff, but it's okay. I like it. There we go. So you'll see, let me just move stuff out of the way here. Yeah, I'm going to grab an alcohol wipe and just sort of clean up my mess. Try to clean up as I go best I can. Generally, I'll clean up the mess when I'm all done with the video. Got it uploaded and ready to roll. So I'm going to get those out of my way and bring my window back in. Still more stuff. Let me get that wiped off. Okay, get my hands wiped off. I'm going to bring my window back in, and now what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to take a black pen, and this is an alcohol marker, and I want to color in the entire back in black. And the reason for that is because this is going to be raised, and I don't want any white showing through because I'm trying to do a sunrise here. And so it's not supposed to be bright and cheery. This is, you know, a winery in Napa or France or Italy or something like that, and I don't know if you've ever been in a winery before, an old winery, but they're dark. So we're staying pretty dark. And that's why I did the dark background. You'll see though, I changed my mind about it. I find that it just, once I lay the window on, the window kind of gets lost in it, and I don't want my window getting lost. I just did all that work to it. So I just color in the entire background with black, and then I'm going to flip my pen over and I'm going to do the inside and outside edges as well. And it doesn't matter if you get some on your window, it just adds to the whole grunginess of it. Heck, you could make any kind of window like this, or door frame, or whatever. It's a matter of having that embossing powder and starting with a dark color in the first place. I don't know how it would work out if you tried to do it on white. I don't think it would, because this embossing powder is kind of weird. It's fluffy, and then it's got chunks in it. So see, I'm not even caring if I accidentally go over. And this pen is almost out of ink. You'll see I end up switching to my darkest gray Copic because it's still got ink in it. And you don't have to use alcohol ink. You could use watercolor, whatever, a crayon. But you do want those edges dark. And you could stack this. You could do, you could just flat raise it up, just by itself. But that's too much cutting right now today, so I'm not gonna. So what I do is I just take and these are, by the way, they're cut down to 5 by 3 3/4. I'm gonna kind of set my window where I want to know what I'm gonna see out my window when I'm looking out, and then pull my background over. And you can see already how that window kind of gets lost in that background, but I start to do it anyway. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my pencil. And I'm going to trace around it. And it's very, very hard to see, by the way. If you do a dark background like this, it's going to be difficult to see. You could do a white pencil, just so long as it can be erased, because you're going to be cutting to the inside of that, and it will show on the outside of the window. So see, it's nearly impossible to see. So I try to go over it a little bit with pencil so I can see it better, and you may not see it at all. You want to make sure that your background is something that you can take an eraser to as well. And so ideally you want to go lightly with the pencil. You don't want to get like pencil dents or marks. And then what I'm going to do, and this is watercolor paper, so it's really, really thick, is so I'm going to just stab it inside the paper, and be careful with my hand so I don't stab my hand. And I just kind of cut up the middle and until I get to that top edge. And what I'm going to be doing is cutting about a scant quarter inch inside the line. Yeah, watercolor paper is very difficult to cut with these little scissors. Oh, I know you have an easier way. Please let me know what your easier way idea is. Short of a die cut, because that's what we're not using here today. There you can kind of see my pencil mark. So you're just going to cut that whole portion out. And it doesn't matter about the insides kind of looking funky, because you're not going to see them, and we're going to line them also in black pen. So you can see when I lay this up against the paper, I'm just making sure that there's nothing showing through. And if there is, I just trim it off. Just that little piece right there. I'm going to go ahead and trim that all the way to the end. There we go. And see, in this case, I wouldn't even need to erase it. And I just feel like it's lost in there. It's not making me happy at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hunt down a different background. I'll use this one for something else. You could do like a black window or something like that with that, or whatever. But I need something else. I'm just unhappy with this altogether. So let me dig out some pre-made backgrounds. I mean, you could make your background on the fly, but I am trying to use up, I've probably got 300 backgrounds that I've pre-made. And I like that one, but it's too short, and I don't want to make my card any shorter. But I would have really liked that one. And that's done with a Technic Junkie stamp. I like that one, but it's not, doesn't fit with the idea. That's too light. Let's see here. I have some, remember back when I made a video of how to make different types of wood. So I have some wood ones that I'm going to kind of look at and see if I like. That one's a little too light. Remember, I've got a dark winery, so, you know, ideally probably bricks would have been cool, like adobe bricks or something. So I'm thinking that one. And then I changed my mind again because when I lay the window down on it, well, you know what, too? I'm trimming it because I'm still not sure. I'm pretty sure I'm going to use this piece, so I'm just going to trim it to the 5 by 3 3/4. And then you'll see when I lay the window down on it, I feel like the window just is not going to do. It's just not going to fly. Nope. Clashes. Not happy. No good. No bueno. Don't like it. And the life of a crafter. So that's, if you didn't have a choice of a background, you'd have to put the background on that you made. But so I'm just going to dig through and see if I can find something else that makes me happy. So stand by while I find one. Okay, I'm kind of happy with that one. This one would be cool, but it's just the window gets lost in that one too. It's like the pattern's too big to go with the window. Let me see here. Let me dig through just a little bit more. Nah, I'm just going to stick with this one, and I'm going to alter it a bit because it's a little bit too light, you know, for supposedly a dingy winery wall. So before I alter it, I'm going to trim it down to the same, which was going to be 3 3/4 by 5. There we go. And let me grab some ink here. Now that I made with the stencil and my gel plate and some Lavinia ink. So I'm going to get my little favorite thing to ink on here. Just a small piece, and I've got some vintage photo distress ink, and I'm just gonna dirty this bad boy up. Yeah, I'm liking it a lot better, just kind of, you know, giving it an old feel. Try things like that, you know, maybe you've got to, and I keep all the backgrounds even if I hate them, because you can throw them in an embossing folder, or you know, put more color on, or whatever you want to do. Save them, save them, save them. So see, I'm much happier with this, getting it darkened down. A little bit more deeper around the edges and here and there. And then I'm going to go in with the Walnut Stain and get the very edges. It's a darker brown, so it's going to give it more of a dirty old feel, like an old monk's winery or something. But I'm still not quite happy with the color. When I lay this down, I feel like we're missing something, and I know exactly what it is. I'm going to get some salvage patina oxide and pop that in there. I think that's going to be the ticket. And I know you're looking at it going, that's going to be really weird, Tracy. But it's not. It's actually really cool. So yeah, just try. Go out there and just grab some color and start messing around. And you just never know what you're going to come up with. See, that's going to pull in the color, the patina color from the window much better. Love it. Yes, I am happy with that. Da-da! Okay, now here we go again. We're going to trace around the window. And this time you'll be able to see my line, which is very helpful. There we go. Let's see if we can bend our hand good enough to get that. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just a guide. You're going to erase it anyway. All right, stab it with the scissors. Much easier to stab. I think this is still 110-pound cardstock. I'm not sure. I don't remember. This was one of those secondaries that you do. But it's a lot easier to see the line, therefore trim around it to the inside and scant 1/4 inch. It's okay if, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just, the main thing is you need that opening. Get that all the way through. Now I'm going to lay my window on and see if there's any sticking out, and if there is, I'm just going to trim it off. And yep, just a little bit right there. There we go. Happy with that. Now I am going to take my black pen. I'm going to trace around the inside of that window, because again, we don't want any white showing through, because you know, this thing's 100 years old. There's not going to be white. There's just not going to be any white to it. That was my first time using that vineyard too. I'm just going to erase the pencil lines, and yeah, I think I'm not going to use my mono eraser because it's erasing the ink. Let me just grab my regular pink white eraser and just erase those lines so that you can't see them. And you probably can't see them, but I can see them, so get those erased. Get off my eraser fluff. I'm going to move that out of my way now so I can pick things up. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my Reptile Adhesive, and I am going to put it on the back side of the window and glue it down. I'm just going to do a thin line just around the edge. Don't need to do anything with the middle ones. I got the finger shakies. All right, let's turn this around. There we go. There we go. Now we have our window on. And I'm just going to set something down on it and let it dry. And it won't take long to dry at all. 5 minutes or so is fine. Okay, so now that's dry, and I've got a piece of acetate here. And I'm just going to trim down the acetate so that it fits just on the window. And you can totally skip this step. I just thought it might be fun to make, since it is such a big window, to go ahead and make a shaker. And this acetate is dirty because I was using it to stamp on. I have acetate scraps. I can't find them. I put them somewhere, you know, so that they would be all in one place, and now I've lost them all. I was better off having them scattered around everywhere. I'm going to just take an alcohol wipe, and I'm going to clean it off really well. You could do also, what would look cool is you could do, if you had some very sheer vellum, you could do vellum and not do shaker and just make it look like kind of a frosty window or something. So I'm just going to get that all clean with the alcohol wipe, and then I'm going to dry it with my microfiber cloth so that everything sticks like it should. And then I'm going to go ahead and just put tape down around this window, double-sided sticky tape. This is just some off-brand I got on Amazon. Nothing to endorse, nothing to see here. Just sticky tape, double-sided sticky tape, so that that acetate has something to stick to. Now, you could do like red tape, you could do glue. It's just that if you do glue, you want to be really careful with it that it doesn't ooze into your window. And so, because it's me, that's exactly what would happen. I'm just going to find my pointy tool here, my Dollar Tree pointy tool, and kind of use the flat end to burnish it down a little. I'm not taking extra super care doing it or anything. And I'm just going to peel back the backer all the way around. Concentrating. Get this last piece off. And I'm just going to lay down my acetate. Make sure that it's all to the inside. And I'm not worried that there's excess because I didn't want to get too little. So now you can kind of see what that's going to look like spaced apart from the background. So next thing I have to do is get some double-sided sticky tape and start sticking it around. Okay, so I'm going to speed up this part of me sticking the sticky tape down on it because, well, it's the same as it always is. Just put the tape all the way around, you know, frame in your subject there where you're going to have your little doodads. And I'm not going to use glitter, so it doesn't have to be perfectly butt up against everything, but it needs to be pretty butt up against everything because those little, even those little confetti things like to escape. So I'm making sure that I leave room that I can, you know, put one across the top too. Yeah, once you get them down, they don't like to come up. And I'm going to fight to try and get that little itty bitty part in. And oops, I still have a space. Let me see, can I use that scrap? Nope. So I'm just going to cut a teeny tiny one and kind of stuff it in there. Okay. And then just continue to put tape all the way around. Now you could just use, you know, like a fun foam or whatever, but then you gotta, you know, make sure that your cut is good. And it's not that it's that hard to cut out, so could have easily just done that as well. But I'm committed to this, so this is what I'm doing. All right, so now that's what that's gonna look like. Now what I need to do, and I'll do it off camera, is do black all the way around all those little edges of the foam and the back of the card on the side edges. And then I'm going to go ahead and just put black edge around this part too, just so they kind of, you know, disappear into each other, sort of. And I'm using my Copic for that because I'm running out of ink in my regular El Cheapo. So that's how they're going to look together. Now it's time to put in the doodads. And I have to decide what color doodads I want to put in. Again, not doodads. Sequins or shaker mix or however you want to call it. Little shiny discs. And so I'm pulling out my honeybee stamps, little discs. And I'm going to go for the gold, but I end up spilling some of the other ones. I need to rethink my container that I made here because if you turn it this way, they all want to leak out. So I'm trying to avoid the other colors, and then I'm like, forget it. Just let the other colors in. They can come in too. Why not? Why not? So I'll pick up these ones off of the table and put them in there. And then I still want another color too. I have some sequins, but I'm not sure that the color, I mean, they are kind of like a salvage patina color, so they might look good. I don't know. This is not my alley. I know I'm going to use some of the green ones. Yeah, I'm going to skip the blue. I'm going to use the Christmas green ones. I almost put those away with Christmas stuff, and I thought, nah, you know, springtime coming up. We wish. I'll keep the green ones out to use all year. Besides that, I ran out of space in my little container thingy that I made. So now I've got those in. I'm going to carefully pull off the tape here. And there's always the tricky part, but I like to use my little pokey tool to pick it up and grab it. I'm just trying not to let those sequins jump everywhere, because they will. They jump. They're real super staticky. That was a tiny piece. We'll get that piece off. See, I just kind of take my pokey tool and I stab in and then lift. That tends to help get it off. And I'm just trying to hold on to the thing on something that's not sticky, so my finger doesn't get stuck and I don't jerk the whole thing up and have sequins flying everywhere, or confetti flying everywhere. And if they do jump up, you got to get them off of there. They won't go back down in the channel, and I don't care if it goes in that channel, but it doesn't want to go down, so I'm just going to pick it up and throw it off. You're kicked out. Get out of the pool. And I'm just going to double check, make sure I've got all my edges are clean there. I don't have any leaks. Okay, you're out of the pool. Oh, I forgot to take that one off. There we go. Come on. Once they get stuck on there, they don't want to come off. Probably could have taken the tape off first and then dumped them in, but knowing me, I'd dump them all over and it'd be stuck to all my tape and I'd ruin my project. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my Reptile Adhesive and glue the dickens out of all of it, because I need to be able to move it around to make sure it's even. And if I don't have glue on there, it's not going to move around. It's just going to stick down and it's going to be, well, you don't like it, trim it off. So I want it to sit the way I want it to. So glue it is. And this just gives you enough wiggle room to move things around. Get off of there, you little turkey. Jive turkey. Okay, ready to roll. Let's make sure that I put my background picture on the right way, and I do. And I'm just going to lay it down on there and just kind of start to even it out. And then flip it over and make sure it's nice and even. What would have been ideal if I had like little bunches of grapes or little bottles of wine? I don't even drink wine, I'm allergic to it, but I still like wineries and I still like grapes and vineyards and stuff like that. Okay, so now we're shaky there. And now I need a background for this. So here we go again with me trying to decide on backgrounds. And on my original one, I had run it through an embossing folder. So I'm going to try that again. I'm just going to grab this wood-looking one because it kind of matches color-wise. And I'm going to get it inside this embossing folder. And I'm going to use a little piece of this yellow tape. It's from Spellbinders. I didn't buy it from Spellbinders. I bought it from a third party, but everybody's raving about it, so I thought, okay, I'll try it. Why not? And I don't even remember how much it cost. It's nice. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. So what I'm going to do is just off camera, I'm giving it a couple of sprays of water there, and then I'm going to run it through my Vagabond 2. And I'm not doing 3 times, I'm only running it once. And what I'm doing is moving my embossing powder things that I put right on top of my Vagabond to get them out of my way. Yeah, that's how it works when you're making videos. You just move stuff out of your way and, you know, throw caution to the wind. Okay. So, I'm not happy with that, with the stripes. They just don't make me happy. It's okay. I mean, it'd be okay, but I'm not going for it. Let me find a different one. Now this little wood one I did, actually I textured the entire thing with the frosted crystal. So it's got kind of a sandy texture to it. You can't really see it, but it's there. It's just kind of sandy. And I think I like that, so I'm gonna go for that. What I need to do here, just check and see if there's anything else maybe. Nope, too light. Let's see, this one. Maybe that's my sandy textured one. I don't remember. And my little sequins are getting crammed up in there, so let me move them around. Honestly, shakers. Yeah, there's the one I want. So I'm going to grab a card base. I'm going to grab a craft card base. Just because, not like you're going to see it, because that wood piece is kind of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so it fits the card base. And I'm just digging around to find one. Those are the ones I tend to run out of. And I see that the side, and this is a top fold, by the way. Let me see. Do I like it? Yeah, that's wonky. Let's trim that off. Not a big deal. It'll still fit in the envelope. Just chop it down. And then I'm going to go ahead and just check that, make sure I'm good with it, and grab my Reptile Adhesive and glue this bad boy down. That's a little bendy. Probably, yeah, because of how I have them stored everywhere. I have lost a whole thing of like my favorite backgrounds that I've made. I have no idea. I put them somewhere to call favorites, and then they're gone. So I'll just stack that on there, make sure it's nice and even at the bottom. And I'll just push down and make sure that the glue's all pushed down into it. And then I'll just glue this guy on there. Very simple, very easy. Just again, the main purpose of this video was to show you how I got that rusty window. The rest is just bonus. I'm thinking, well, yeah, they're probably going to say, well, there's a window. Now what do I do with it? Well, you could do this, or you could do like I did the other one. And I'm going to skip the whole sentiment part at this point because I just don't feel like it. I don't know. I don't feel like picking one out. So there you have your little shaker card. Let me zoom out so you can see. Again, you don't have to do shaker. You can do it any way you want to do it. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did like it, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give me a thumbs down. Any feedback you have, I love to hear it. Appreciate you guys watching. And you know, go have fun with it. Make some rusty windows. And here again is a still picture. Well, not still, it's kind of moving, of the two I did. Thanks for watching, y'all. Have a good one.